it going? Awesome. So, 15-year-olds are not supposed to have strokes. At least that's what I thought. But I guess I wasn't really your typical 15-year-old. I want to share with you a little bit today about my story, about the years that led up to that pivotal moment in my life, and 3 things that I think are really, really important and maybe even necessary in cultivating resilience, in overcoming challenges and becoming a better and maybe a stronger person. So, going way, way, way back, at least way back for me, 1989, I had a really, really weird childhood. I think most of us do, right? But maybe particularly weird for me. I was born to a lesbian couple in the heart of conservative Texas. I was conceived through artificial insemination. My mom had to go to like 3 different doctors. So challenge and adversity was there from the very, very get-go. And my mom was in many ways the first model of resilience for me because she was like, I'm going to have kids. Me being lesbian is not going to stop me from having children. So I was born. My sister was born 2.5 years later. And the first 5 or 6 years of my life were kind of awesome, to be honest with you. Like my parents built around us this like protective fortress. I often say that I was kind of raised by like a beehive of lesbians. My godparents were gay, our family friends were gay, and it was really important to my mom not to let things get hard. But sometimes things get hard. I'm working on a book right now, and I'm tentatively calling it When Shit Hits the Fan. And I'm not even kidding because that's how life happened. When I was 6, we had a close family relative commit suicide. And that was the beginning for my mom of a long string of mental illnesses. When she was a kid, she had an eating disorder. And when she got older, she had bipolar disorder. She was diagnosed once with narcissistic personality disorder. And the mom that I had known growing up went away. Those next 10 years were just really hard and really painful, largely because as a kid, I didn't feel like I could get my needs met. When I would come to mom and I would say, I need you to pick me up at school, she wouldn't show up. Or we would be in the car and she would be drunk, and I would say, Mom, I'm really scared, can we pull over the car? And it didn't happen. And what did happen instead was my mom didn't know how to deal with my needs and deal with my expression of needing her because she was struggling with her own inner demons. And so my mom's way of kind of responding to me was often, I can't deal with you, you're too much, and you're so much that I'm thinking of, like she would threaten to commit suicide. And so it was really scary for me. And the thing I learned during those years were that my needs were dangerous. My need for my mom, my need for touch, my need for all of those things were actually going to make her go away if I wasn't careful. So I learned to stuff those feelings down. How many people in the audience have felt like that at some point in their life? Right? That your expression of emotion or how you feel is dangerous, so you've got to stuff it down. Well, that worked for a little while, and then I hit puberty, and nothing gets stuffed down in puberty. I don't know about the little girls in the audience, but I was wailing. I was like raging emotions, raging hormones. Nothing was getting stuffed down, and all of these big feelings were coming up that I had been keeping down for so many years. And it was around that time my body's changing, and my way of saying, like, things are not okay was, I'm fat. I'm not okay with my body. And so my mom, like I said, had an eating disorder when she was a kid, and so I went to my mom, and I was like, I hate my body, maybe I'm going to go on a diet. And my mom was like, sure, I'll go on a diet with you. Let's do it together. And for the first time in years, I had my mom wanting to pay attention to me and wanting to do things with me. We were going to have family dinners at night. We were going to start a gym membership. We were going to do all these things. And so this diet became something that was much more than a diet. It was a way for me to connect with a parental figure. It was a way for me to get love and nurturance and compassion and time, if nothing else, time and attention. Now, my mom gave up on the diet within about 2 weeks. There were more important things to her. I didn't give up on it. I kept going with it. I had found a tool, and I really do think the way we relate to our food is often an emotional tool for dealing with the big feelings that I didn't have the interpersonal tools to deal with at the time. And so starving became a way of getting out of emotion. Starving became a way of having a semblance of control over my body that didn't really exist. Starving became a way of feeling valuable in the world, because the more weight I lost, everybody was like, wow, Chelsea, you're really losing weight. Things, you look great. What are you doing? And I'm like 13 years old at the time. This is the society we live in, is one that glorifies discipline and wellness and all of these traits that looked really healthy but weren't. Now, it spiraled out of control for me. I was in and out of treatment centers from the time I was 12 until I was 15. And when I was 15, my sister and I were in a grocery store. I was walking down an aisle. To give you a sense of where I was weight-wise, I dropped down to below 60 pounds. I was very ill. I began to lose vision on my right side and then on my left side, and that's the last thing I remember for about 2 months. I later found out I was transported to Children's Medical Center in Dallas, where the doctors and nurses called Child Protective Services on my mom. My sister was put into a foster home, not a foster home, but she was put into foster care and went to live with my godparents, my lesbian godparents, who would take care of her as best they could. And I was actually made a ward of the hospital. So the doctors and nurses in charge of my care literally became my parental guardians for about 1.5 years. I was in Children's for 18 months. And when I got to Children's, I had no will to live anymore. I was done. I was angry. I wanted the staff to go away. I didn't want any help anymore. I felt like my purpose in life was to die, and to die in this way. It was almost a feeling. I mean, when you starve yourself that much, your brain does funky things, and I thought I was meant to be a martyr. I thought God wanted me to die. It was at that point in terms of my delusion. But something happened while I was there. I had these doctors and nurses who said, I don't care if you want to die. I think you're valuable, and I believe in you, and I want you to live. I get choked up just because I've got so much love in my heart for these people. Through their eyes, I saw the life in me, and I reawakened that will to live. And that's the first thing I think is key in resilience, is the will to live has to be there. Why do some people thrive in the face of adversity and other people crumble? I think sometimes when you lose the will to live, that's when you crumble. And sometimes we need to be reminded by other people of why life is worth living. That brings me to the second thing I think is key to resilience, and that's community. So in the hospital, I found a sort of pseudo-community. These doctors and nurses stepped in and they said, you haven't had a family? We're going to be your family. And we're going to be the people to bring you up and give you those skills and resources, that language for communicating your emotions that you never had. When you say, I need you, I'm not going to run away. That's what they told me. They said, you can need me. In fact, it's human to need other people. That's okay. And that's what I learned there. Now, when I left the hospital, I was 17. I moved into a garage apartment very close by. I was sort of like terrified to leave the little nest, and they were like, shoo, birdie, get out, fly, But I left the hospital, and I didn't really know what to do. I was terribly socially awkward. I was afraid of people. I got a dog, and that was the one thing I could relate to. And I had a therapist. Her name was Melody, and she offered me, she was a therapist while I was in the hospital. She came out, started her own practice, and she offered me almost free weekly therapy for the next 6 years. And Melody was the one who said, I think you should try yoga. And I was like, oh, no, not for me. That's fluffy, that's easy, that's gentle, that's spiritual. I am surviving, that's all I want to do. Please leave me alone. I was still in that place of I don't need anyone or anything else. And Melody kept pushing, and she kept saying, I really think you should try building a relationship back with your body. And so I went to yoga. And yoga, in many ways, once again, changed my life. It wasn't so much the physical practice. Now, the physical practice was incredibly valuable as a tool, once again, for learning to relate to my emotions in a healthier way and to build back a relationship with my body. But what I found in yoga was community. I found a network of support that could sort of nurture and nourish me as I grew into my own. And that was really valuable. Now, I went through yoga teacher training, and the final thing, so we've got will to live, community. The final thing that I think is key in resilience is service. So I got to this point where I'm like, wow, I'm doing pretty well now. Maybe I have something to offer. Maybe there's some way I can give back to this community. And so I started working at a juvenile detention center, offering yoga classes there. I started volunteering with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And all of a sudden, the process of recovery, of nourishing myself wasn't just about me. Eating disorders are very selfish illnesses. And so the service aspect took it out of me. and it made it about someone else. I'm going to eat today because I need to be a role model for this young person that is trusting me and is relating to me as a mentor. That was really important. So 3 things that I think are key: will to live, community, and service. I think those are really important. Now, I'm close to out of time, so I want to close with something I wrote. This was a book about yoga and the impact yoga can have. And I wrote something that I hope people read and can maybe take away from this story. My hope is that this story might be helpful to people who are grappling with their own inner demons in silence and isolation. Whether it's an eating disorder, abandonment, depression, or addiction, I hope you can remember this: you don't have to suffer alone. There are people out there who want to love you, who would be honored to bear witness to your pain. Healing doesn't happen in a vacuum. We are human, and we have an inherent need to see and be seen, to touch and be touched. No one heals heartbreak alone. Now, 2 years into my yoga practice, my mom developed dementia. And I had to become the guardian, the custodian of her care, put her into a home in Austin. And I literally lost the woman. You know, I'd already in some ways lost her, but when she became ill, a level more ill than she had before, I began to relapse. I got sick again, and I have the yoga community and the friends and the family around me. I have them to thank for being able to pull out of that. So at the core, I think oftentimes we're told, or we think that you can't love someone else until you love yourself. And if I've learned one thing from all of this experience, all of these, it's that sometimes loving yourself comes through the process of loving and being loved by others. If you don't love yourself, it's okay to be open to what's out there. So that's what I hope you take away. Thank you for listening.